Okay, so welcome back, everyone, to the Planets per Ascendant series. We're continuing on with Aquarius, and we'll be talking about Mercury for an Aquarius ascendant. And today I have again with us two of the astrological apprentices, year 3 apprentices from Asheville Vedic Astrology.com, is going to discuss these planets, or particularly Mercury today, with us. So what I want to do is consider Mercury for an Aquarius ascendant, and to get into it, we need to know what are the houses that Mercury rules, and what does that tell us about an Aquarius ascendant. So Kim, tell us, what are the houses that Mercury rules for Aquarius, and what insights does that give us about how Mercury should function for an Aquarius ascendant?
Okay, so right off, Mercury is a friend to Saturn, so I would expect him to be helpful, and he is usually auspicious for the Aquarius ascendant, ruling the 5th and the 8th houses. So he's got, you know, a trine, a lucky house, generally our house of beliefs and faith and good things like that. Being that it's Mercury, it probably gives good intelligence, and then mixing in with the 8th house, a place where you can go very deep and do profound research. Generally, this can give an Aquarian the ability to do profound, deep research.
Right.
So there's a lot of thinking here, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're a Virgo, or not Virgo. You're an Aquarius ascendant, so I would assume you know, don't you?
Yeah, and I unfortunately have Mercury on the ascendant, so I always think.
Right.
The sort of flip side of this, though, is, you know, 5th house is also an indication of children.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get Mercury and Saturn together, sometimes you can have an energy of trying to micromanage or mismanage. So a lot of times there can be stresses through children for Aquarian ascendants, just because they're trying so hard to manage it and make it perfect. And then with that sort of 8th house energy too, there's a lot of just psychological things going on related to, am I raising my children right, and how can I fix it?
Mm-hmm. Right. So do you have that problem?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all do, don't we?
It's not just an Aquarius problem, right?
I think so.
Good. So when we think about the idea of Mercury being exalted in the 2nd house and debilitated in the 8th, Desi, what kind of insights can you share with our listeners about that?
I have been looking into the art and science of Vedic astrology, the Bhava Yogas. So about the 5th lord debilitated in the 2nd, so I looked at the negative influences, and I have cheats family out of money. That's a possibility because Mercury is the cheetah, right? But mainly it's Mercury is the manager, so basically there will be difficulty managing one's responsibilities. In 2nd house affairs, responsibilities in the immediate family, responsibilities towards oneself, towards one's mind, because it's the 5th lord in the 2nd. Maybe we can say something about the foods, but since Venus is exalted there, perhaps the person makes healthy choices in relationship to food, but Mercury can make bad choices, right, because he's debilitated there. So eating food that hurts the mind or makes the mind unhealthy.
Right.
Because 5th lord.
Like too much sugar and caffeine, maybe?
Probably, yes. Yeah. Because it's Mercury, right? Yes, and he likes that kind of food, right? Rajas food, Rajasic food.
Right. And so when you think about the exaltation, that's what I meant to say, the exaltation of Mercury in the 8th house. Again, we've got the 5th Lord and the 8th Lord exalted in the 8th. What kind of insights does that tell you about how Mercury can function for an Aquarius ascendant?
What came to my mind was what already Kim mentioned about profound thinkers. Really, an Aquarius ascendant, I can imagine that they can work really well in research. They can manage well because, yes, again, Mercury is the manager, and they can manage transformation and change. It will be best if they're willing to change, but if they're willing to change, because Saturn sometimes won't allow them, but if they're willing to change, Mercury will help them make a shift. I have down, again, because of the 8th house and its relationship to sexuality, I have down that can be attracted towards both genders because Mercury is androgynous, right? Mm-hmm. It's a possibility, but they can feel for, because the 8th house is a feeling house, the equality between male and female, like have that sense of understanding for what both genders are about. This comes to do with the mind. Everything is because of that 5th Lord in the 8th. Did I say 9th? No, 5th Lord in the 8th right. Makes one's mind really profound and perceptive.
Right, and the points you touched upon, Aquarius individuals are hard workers, and they are meant to, be of service in this world. But what we see with that Mercury exalted in the 8th, and it rules the 5th, it does give them great perception into other people's psychological states. And it can also give a great ability to understand how people are thinking and how they're working, which is one of the reasons why Aquarius ascendants actually do or can do well in large groups and managing large groups, because they understand the underlying motivations of people so they can help keep groups together. And when we kind of tie that into the fact that their 10th house is Scorpio, which is the natural 8th sign of the zodiac, this is another thing that shows why Aquarius ascendants can be very good at research, why they can be very good, again, at understanding psychological motivations of other people. So it's really fascinating to see that. And along with that, the 8th house deals with other people's money and other people's resources. So an Aquarius ascendant also has the capacity to do things like grant writing or understanding, or can help people manage their finances or manage their resources, or help guide people to improve their resources. And if you can do that in large groups, Aquarius is very good at even like humanitarian situations, humanitarian help. And that's because if the Aquarian can go in, they can see the bigger picture of what needs to be done, such that everyone can benefit on a very deep level, very deep psychological level. Because it's one thing, as they say in the Bible, to give someone a fish rather than to simply teach them to fish. So what you just described is the reason that Aquarians have the capacity to teach people how to better their own life, because they understand the underlying motivations. I didn't mean to interrupt you. At least hopefully I didn't. Did you have any other thoughts on that, Desi?
No, okay. Not now. But wasn't it that Aquarius, isn't it Aquarius the sign related to the last battle before the 12th house, right. Before final awakening? Mm-hmm. So possibly I see it hopeful for an Aquarius to find that on their path. Right. But through that psychological work, I guess it's through the 8th house, jumping from the 8th house, and through that deep psychological work, I can imagine that an Aquarius can grow their potential for awakening.
Right, and that's a very good point. What Desi brought up, this is something that we studied in the beginning of the apprenticeship course, year 1, with the Rashis and Signs course, that the 11th house is that final battle before we move into liberation, the 12th house. And Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac. So it's said that people who have an Aquarius ascendant, that the work they're doing in this world, if they do it really well, they're able to kind of master that psychological transformation such that they are truly free inside. So it's very good. Thank you for bringing that up. Kim, do you have any thoughts about how Mercury tying all this together, how Mercury works for an Aquarius ascendant? Again, you being an Aquarius ascendant.
I think just remembering Mercury's highest and best potentials. He is the manager. He is able to see all sides of things, and he's detached. So, you know, all of these placements we've been talking through, where the planets exalt, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, they constantly point to the fact that the Aquarius needs to sort of get out of the 8th house, the 10th house, the psychological stuff that they can get caught up in, and do, you know, consistent daily routines that focus on wholesome desires,
right,
and sort of like this middle balance place where the Aquarius is actually allowed to shine.
Right. And it's not so much that one avoids those things like the 8th house and psychological. It's just not taking it to an extreme where it becomes a distraction. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, because over and over, Aquarians have this ability to take things too far.
Yeah.
Especially with Mars ruling the 3rd and the 10th. Like, this is where you get cult leaders and zealots too.
Right.
So, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll save that for another talk. All right. Well, I think that's pretty good. I think we could probably conclude there with this discussion of Mercury. Unless, do you have any other thoughts, Desi, or do you think we've covered enough?
No more thoughts.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. We'll go ahead and conclude here. And again, keep in mind that many of the students in the astrological apprenticeship program, as they go through year 4, the final year of the program, they're going to be required to do donation-based sessions where feedback will need to be provided. So hopefully, I think, Desi and Kim are both proceeding forward on that. So in about 6 months from this date, around August 2019, you might want to check AshevilleVedicAstrology.com to see who's available for donation sessions such that they can complete their year 4 study. So those of you out there paying attention, watching this, if you need some help in that regard, you want to support the students in their learning, go ahead and tune into AshevilleVedicAstrology.com for that. So, all right. Thank you both for being here. It was really a pleasure to work with you and to speak with you about these topics. Thank you.